Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips. He teaches fire Tams and killer tips. Buyer, sellers, wheel and deal. Real stories. Keep it real. Snack a bargain. Flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.
I'm here with Bevo Flips. He's on Facebook. I know you're on TikTok. What else are you on?
YouTube as well. Mainly Facebook as far as activity goes.
Yeah, that's where I met you, is on Facebook. He's one of my favorite follows. So
Likewise,
I like to
buddy.
always like to start right at the beginning. What got you into reselling? Because that's what this podcast is about. So I always just start at the beginning and we'll go from there.
I guess the very start, I had a little hustle when I was a kid with baseball cards. I'm a huge Griffey fan. You've seen the hat a lot, I'm sure. So I've got a massive Ken Griffey Jr. collection that I started when I was a very young kid, and kind of I fizzled that out, after in college around there somewhere. But worked at an antique mall in high school. I think I was probably a junior. Sophomore, junior, I was one of those early birds as a sophomore. So I was working since I could. And I just started seeing stuff, kind of what was happening, and had some people take me under the wing and show me what's up. So I started going to yard sales back then and state sales. And I had a little showcase with a glass sliding door lock. And I sold mostly toys, Star Wars, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Fisher-Price Little People, that kind of stuff.
Are you still into baseball cards?
No, it's dangerous for me. I need to be putting that money in the market, not in a shoebox. So, I get on the quest, and the next thing you know, I've got the one of the world's largest King Griffey Jr. collections. So,
Yeah.
I don't need to.
I dabble a little bit, but I'm really bad at picking the rookie who I start buying and then hoping that they take off. I think it was 3 years ago, I went real heavy buying CJ Stroud cards for the Texans. And because I thought he was going to be the next big thing. And I'm still holding my CJ Stroud because they've tanked since then. And I'm just hoping he has a bounce back.
It's very tough. It was always just fun for me. I was more of a completist, trying to get every single card and of Griffey. And I started an Acuna collection, and then that got out of hand pretty quick because my son wanted to go with me to the card shows, and there's Pokemon, and I don't know what anything's worth there. Still don't. So it got double expensive, so I had to quit.
I don't dabble into Pokemon stuff often. Not because I'm against it. It's just to get the ones that are worth listing on eBay. I just can't get them at the comps like we can get. Like when you go to the Goodwill, you can't get the same kind of comps on Pokemon cards. So
no. I can't pronounce them. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very confusing.
One question I like to ask everybody, because I think this is like the one area that anyone, if you fine tune it enough, can be worth thousands of dollars a year, is your daily routine, because a really good daily routine can be worth thousands in the course of a year just by having that dialed in. So I always like to pick everybody's brain on how they do everything, because I'm always looking to tweak and improve and see where I can be more efficient to make more money.
Same. I wear a lot of different hats, so it's a perfect day is what I'm going to describe. They happen about 2 to 3 times a week for me. Like today, it just didn't happen. So, but thanks to you, I have a bank of days of drafts, so I'm not pressured to list today. I will later tonight, but my perfect day is getting up at 6:30, 7 o'clock, kind of chilling for a minute, listing that day's stuff that's already banked, kind of perusing Facebook and responding and that kind of thing. Pick my orders, and then be at Goodwill, the one store I shop at mainly, at 9 o'clock when they open. And I'm there until they basically make me leave as far as the stuff. So when they're stop pulling out the racks, I talk to the employees. I'm like, okay, that's it for the men's stuff. I've seen everything else. I'm done. And then I go to work, and I'm there 2 to 3 hours at most. I do my shipping from there, which makes no sense as far as efficiency or anything like that because I put everything in the truck, supplies, everything at once, and I take it there and take it back out of my truck, yada, yada, yada. But I do that because it forces me to be present there 5 days a week because I don't necessarily have to be there 5 days a week. So it makes me be there 5 days a week to keep my eye on that ball. And then I leave, I go back to Goodwill, and I'm there depending on 20 minutes, 30 minutes at the most, and I'm home. I'm picturing I'm chilling with the family, doing whatever I got to do, picking the kid up from school, um, and then if I can, I go back to Goodwill. Same one. It's about 5 minutes from me. It's in my daily route, so I'm there a lot. Yesterday was 4 times, today 3, but um, and then it's hanging out with the family, dinner, and then I try to do a big burst of pictures before or after dinner. And then after dinner, if we've got nothing going on, I'll do some more picturing and then sit on the couch with the family watching TV. And my son takes over, watches all his goofy YouTube guys, and I'm listing just while I chill and have a little wine. And that's my day.
So I see a lot of your haul videos from the thrift stores, and it seems like a lot of your stuff is menswear, like a lot of athletic gear, like college gear. I see some suit jackets every once in a while. Is that primarily what you're targeting, or do you loop the whole store and look for other stuff as well?
I hit the whole store. Generally when I'm there, I know who's with me as far as the line at 9 o'clock, and what they go for. So depending on who's there and who isn't, I'm going to go to shoes or this, that, or the other. Um, and then kind of work my way back to clothes because there's generally not anybody there early that's going to be hunting for clothes. Unless there's a new rack, then I'm going to zero in on that so the posh moms don't get it. No offense. But I don't really have a, hey, I'm looking for anything. As I try to tell people, it finds me. I just try to get out of the way and put it in the cart. I do find a lot of new attack stuff. Um, and it's just being there consistently and having a relationship with the employees as far as, hey, I know what days are best for men's, kind of a routine. So I just from, picking their brain and asking questions and, chit chatting.
What percentage of your inventory do you think comes from that one Goodwill store that you stop at 3 times a day?
Um, Listed inventory, phew, 30 to 40 right now, maybe 50. I mean, the stuff I'm sourcing day, all the stuff you see in those hauls is 100% from one store. Um, and that's it. I go to another one that's real close to where I work, once a week maybe, but they're expensive. They're double the price of Goodwill. So,
Oh.
uh, unless I'm hunting a grail, which is a needle in a haystack sometimes, I don't really go there.
You mentioned right now, you said your listed inventory. So are you selling somewhere else or in some kind of other avenue or?
So I have a business partner. This is kind of how I got started back into this more recently. He and I buy storage units together. So kind of a crazy story. I was living in a house. My wife, my kid, my parents lived there. Um, my parents moved into our house from 3 hours away to be around us. And we were looking for somewhere that had more space that was distributed and some space for some vehicles. We looked at this property and I was like, hey, I want to go check the barn out because that's kind of why I really want to buy this property. And for cars, nothing to do with eBay. I wasn't selling then. I had a 10-year-old death pile from my previous venture. And the owner of the house was like, hey, I really want to be there. I'm like, okay, whatever. Opens the door. Rex, just, okay, this dude's an eBayer. He's got like 5,400 items listed. Um, he now lives behind us in the rental house, and there's a barn down there, and all his inventory is in there. But we buy storage units together and kind of split them up. And I kind of keep track of the accounting side of it. But he does all the sourcing as far as which units we're buying. He's been doing it for 25 years, very good at it. Um, but he's moving to Spain soon. So that's kind of fizzling out as far as buying of the units, but we have a ton of inventory, um, a ton.
So is he listing the storage unit stuff on his eBay and you guys have some kind of arrangement?
He's been doing a lot of we have big yard sales here at the house. I mean massive yard sales. It's there's at any one time there's 30 or 40 people for the first 2 or 3 hours. There's dealers. I mean I think I've posted a picture or two of them, how many cars are in the field or the front yard. Um, and he also has been uh, stocking a booth that we have locally. That's all him, and he's been traveling to South Carolina a lot to do flea markets. And Pickens, South Carolina, it's a real good flea market. We do really well there. The margins are not as good as you would get on eBay, but we're selling a lot of big stuff, a lot of old stuff, um, and just cash flow, moving stuff. He doesn't really list a lot at the moment. I'm more of the lister. He had an employee that he no longer has. So we're kind of just trying to pare all that down. But I still list some of that stuff currently on my eBay page. And then we split that, kind of chuck it all up 50-50.
Is I saw photo of you running into Flip Fusion at a flea market. Is that the one in Pickens that you're talking about?
Yeah, that's it. It's not far from him, kind of outside of Spartanburg, Greenville, or wherever. Um, yeah, good dude, real good dude.
Yeah, I always say when I get down to his area and when I get down to your area, I'm going to be hitting you guys up to go grab a bite to eat or something.
Absolutely, I'd love to hang for sure.
So you go to the same thrift store 3 days a week, and then you list in the evening. I always like to pick people's brain on how they list because everyone that I talk to seems to list just a little different. And anytime you can perform your listing or improve your listing, that's money in the
Mhm.
bank because the quicker and more efficient you get, the more money you're going to make because the more you're going to list. So, what's your listing process look like?
So I generally do my photos in batches. I do a lot. I do really well in spurts. Because my time is I'll just sneak up to the barn and 45 minutes of just hard photoing, just getting after it, and then listing all at once. Um, it's kind of how I do it. I don't generally photo, then list, then go to the next. And I need to tweak my SKU system because I graduated from the peekaboo system to an adult system, uh, and it's still peekaboo's still in there, and I have to get rid of it.
How many current active listings are you running at the moment?
17-15 or 17-18 or something like that.
Yeah, you're right at that point where it starts to get a little hectic because I'm
Yes.
guilty of it myself. I started off thinking, oh, I'll know where everything is. And then it gets out of hand, but you're just big enough where it's hard to go back and reskew the old stuff into your new system because it takes time. So, is that kind of the process you're in at the moment? Like,
Yes, I'm trying to scale and fix old issues at the same time. And right before I went on vacation, I did a pretty good job of skewing and getting my garage in order because I have a lot of my stuff in the garage right here by the house. And then mostly in the barn is all clothes and then unlisted stuff. The clothes are easy to skew and easy to do. But I've got Craftsman, bench grinders and, you know how it is. You just got this oddball stuff. You can't put it in a box or a bin. And I've got
yeah,
like a model engine and all this crazy stuff.
I use the banker box system for all my small to really small items that are non-breakable, but then I have hundreds of shelves that are just skewed like A7, B7, for that big bulky or breakable items. So,
Mhm.
but that takes up a ton of room. So I don't know your room situation, but that just I'm always jealous when I see Cougar's Corners videos because they're all like all closed and it's all nice and neat and
Mhm.
it's all in these little boxes and they can store a lot of inventory in a small space and they're crushing it. So
They are. They're uh, I try to. yourself, them, Flip Fusion, Richard Mendez, or
Hmm.
I kind of want to be a little bit of all of y'all, in
Yeah.
how you do things. Because I like selling clothes. It's easy for me to source. When I first started, I was like, man, this is awful, trying to take pictures of them and all that stuff. But I got fast at it. Now I don't mind. It's just easy for me to find and doesn't bog me down. But the way you source is something that highly intrigues me. Um, Same way as Flip. So I'm trying to kind of just take little pieces of
Yeah.
everybody and be dangerous everywhere.
To be honest, sometimes I'm kind of jealous of you clothes guys because I don't go into the Goodwill very often. I do every once in a while, but I'm lucky since I don't do clothes to come out with if I come out with 3 or 4 pieces, it was a really good haul. But like
Yeah.
you can go in there at 9 o'clock in the morning since you're doing clothes because most thrift stores are 80% clothes and come out with a cart full. And
Uh-huh.
I'm never the guy who can come out with a cart full because I never look at the clothes. So because I hate photographing them and the time it takes, and it's so there's some benefits to clothes that, and I see like your hauls and how Cougar Corner can store it real easy and the shipping. I can see the appeal as well
Hmm.
because my
Yeah.
shipping takes up half my day. The clothing, you just throw in a poly bag and you're out the door. So,
It is a breeze. I was again when I first we were doing storage units hard, and we were selling a lot of crazy video games and all this other stuff. Which it'd be great if we could all just sell rare video games. I mean,
oh yeah.
but uh, but the square footage of the thrift store, it was just I started thinking about. It, I'm like, this is the easiest place for me to source through my life, the way my life is structured. Um, I better get better at it.
Every picker in the world is out there at the garage sales and the flea markets looking for rare, expensive video games. And they just keep popping up less and less and less every single year. I see less and less and less of that stuff.
Yeah. I was a vintage toy seller for the longest. It's when I started selling in high school, and then life, college, worked for my dad. In college, I worked for him on the weekends and would kind of run his business and then go back to Atlanta 2 hours away and go to school Monday through Thursday. Um, and then I got a real job later on. Um, and I got a bonus kind of structure taken away for a few months. I'm like, well, I'm bored. I'm going to start selling toys again. And I was in the Atlanta area and it was just tripping over vintage toys. And that's just not the case anymore. I don't see hardly any 80s Star Wars, G.I. Joe, He-Man, not enough to, cover my monthly nut. So, I'd love to find it again, but I quit trying to be that Facebook hawk on Marketplace because that's a time suck for me.
Time sucking, that's very competitive for that kind of stuff. My
Yes.
first couple years of reselling, that's pretty much what I was looking for is vintage toys, video games, anything pop culture, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
But now I sit back and wonder how much good stuff I missed back in those days because I had blinders on at the yard sales, only looking for that kind of stuff. And if I didn't see that kind of stuff, I turned around and left. And if I just knew what I knew now, I just wonder how much good stuff I missed out
Yeah.
because I had blinders on.
That's every reseller's nightmare, I think. The haunts.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier about in scaling mode. So what's kind of your game plan? What's your game plan to get to where you want to be? What's that spot you want to get to? Just uh, lay that all out for me.
Sure. So right now, I'm doing $500 a day. Um, and that's kind of if I could sell 500 a day, I'd be tickled. I probably need to list a little more than that. But on the back end of that, I want to build a building on my property. That or figure out a better system that I don't have currently. Because right now, when you walk into my barn, it's a good sized barn, and then I have when he moves to Spain, I'll be running his eBay store. Um, so and it's two different locations, and I'm trying to. It's all up here. I just don't know how to. When I get all that figured out and get my barn where I'm not like kind of every step I take is just doing a sort of dance around everything, because I hate that. It just I can't be productive if I can't like move around. So once I get that squared out, I'd like a 250,000 a year is kind of a sweet spot for me.
That would.
And then, if I scale it from there, if my mom retires, and like whenever she retires and she wants to get involved because she's sharp, bookkeeping wise, and a lot of ways. Um, that's another opportunity to kind of take another step, I think.
I think that's going to be quite the challenge for you running two eBay stores. Are you still going to try to list actively daily on that second eBay store, or what's
I
kind of the
don't
game
know.
plan there?
I don't know. Um, that's a that's the elephant in the room. I don't know yet. Um,
Yeah,
the
that's a
auto relist, we'll see how that goes. I'm probably going to let it, kind of self-populate, and sell similars for a while and see how it does, and kind of look at it. We've still got to go through it and kind of inventory it, so it's dialed in before he leaves. Um, but I mean, he and I have a ton of great inventory together still. I mean, just tripping over stupid stuff. I pull it out once in a while, I take pictures of it, and he's trying to sell an African art collection that's probably six figures, full retail or more, that he got out of storage units, and he sold a bunch of his stuff already. Um, so that's a long-winded answer. But I don't know yet. I play a lot by ear and kind of do what needs to be done, instead of trying to think I have it figured out and I don't.
I don't remember a Facebook post of you set up at some kind of art show or antique show. Is that something you do here and there, or?
That was the first time we did it. It's Scott's Antique Market in Atlanta, and there's another one in Ohio, maybe. I can't remember. So it's been there forever. There's a lot of really smart people there. Um, I met one guy that does a lot of primitive and antique stuff, and he's just an encyclopedia. Um, I think he was invited to be, a dude on the road show kind of guy, but he didn't want to. But so we did that once. It's expensive to get in. We really didn't move that much stuff. I think probably broke even and made a dollar or two, but it's a lot of work driving an hour and a half there and back 4 days a week, plus the load and unload. Um, it's time. I gotta be more, you know, just dialed in with my time because it's just a premium.
I feel ya. I always say I know of all these flea markets, and in the winter there's these shows, and you can go rent space. And I always say I'm going to do more of that and make some more cash sales, but there's only so many hours in the day, and if you have an aggressive listing goal like myself, like it's hard to get 3 or 4 days. I can get a day ahead sometimes, but to get 3 or 4 days ahead to go do something like that is just a task. And then when you do take that time off, the shipping is insane coming back. So sometimes it's just easier just to focus on the online stuff and not worry as much about the in-person stuff. It's just always trying to find that perfect balance where you can maximize your profit versus your time. And I'm guilty. I haven't figured it out myself.
Yeah, and to add on to that, the physical and just the mental dump. The days after, you're dragging. It carries over for a week. If when I do a
Mhm.
massive storage unit, dude, I'm wrecked for my shoulders are shot, my knees are shot. Just is what it is. But a week later, I'm still dragging, trying to get caught up on just get my energy level, so I can't produce what I normally produce in a day, because of what I did 7 days ago.
I get messages on Facebook quite often asking for advice and tips and stuff. And one of them I get asked a lot is, do you ever buy storage units? I never see you buy storage units. And I'm not anti-storage unit. It's just people don't realize when you buy it and you get that excitement is awesome. But
Yeah,
when you get about an hour into it, you're telling yourself, why did I buy this thing? Because it's a lot of work.
it
Especially some of
is.
those indoor ones, you can't back the truck right up to the door and start loading up. Sometimes you're a half mile inside this ginormous facility and you got to wheel the stuff out on this little bitty cart, and you may do 25 trips that is completely trash with one or two loads of stuff that's worth keeping. So I don't think people realize the kind of work that goes into some of those storage units.
It's a bear. And there's an elevator involved. You're having to wait on it. And it gets stuff gets knocked over by the door, and it's a cluster. And I mean, a lot of times for us, we got to drive an hour and a half to get to the goods. Um, so really, the good stuff's in Atlanta, and then we bought stuff in Florida. We tried to buy some stuff in South Carolina, North Carolina. Um, so the logistics of that, you got to get it in one shot. And we last the last unit we bought 5 at one time, and they were just chock full. We're still renting 2 of those 5 units right now. It was just a better business decision for us right now, is to take on 2 or 3 months worth of rent to kind of keep it rolling, while we process the rest of it, because the stuff was just that good. I mean, the guy had clothes hangers across, like, the guy was an engineer, but he got clothes racks, and it was all copper. So I think we got like 12 sticks of copper. So it tells you how good stuff was.
That's another thing people don't talk about. You not only have the expense of buying it, the travel expense, you don't know what the parking situation or the backing up a trailer situation is going to be, because, some of them aren't very trailer friendly.
Mm-mm.
The trash bill can be insane. I don't know your trash pickup, but last time I bought one, I think I took 2 loads to a dump, and I think it cost me $130 for both loads, which is more than I paid for the unit. And then if you can't get it all out in the 24 or 48 hours they give you, then you're on the hook for the rent for at least 1 month, which can be $150, and that's
Mhm.
all that eats into that bottom line. And then time you add in some of the hours you have in it, you start figuring it up, and you made like $8 an hour sometimes, and you still got a list of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. We typically haven't gone for the cheaper stuff where you get more junk and trash and households. And he's a very good man. My business partner is very good at kind of pinpointing antique dealers and collectors and that kind of thing. So we've had some real good luck with, not having a ton of just straight trash, but still the amount of work and that, you get so excited. You're going through it in the unit, and you're looking through stuff. You want to get, like Christmas morning, then you got to put it back in, load it back up, get it out of there, and then you do it again. So the time frame is just, you're double working yourself a lot, I think.
You recently found one with a lot of high end, like University of Georgia stuff in it. What kind of stuff did you find in there?
So he was a football player for UGA. He was an all-pro player, played in the NFL, bounced around for a couple years because NFL is not for long. But found his All SEC trophy was in there. It was broke, still have it. His Letterman jacket, I think it sold for $449 or $499. There's a lot of alumni stuff in there that had addresses for all the players, and we didn't sell any of that, just for privacy for them. But had a lot of high-end clothes, some Gucci shoes that I've sold twice and got returned. God, $300 return twice. I'm like, well, if I sell them again, I'm gonna lose money on these shoes. This is awful. um, but that box had a Smith and Wesson in it, so that was a profitable Gucci box in it
Yeah.
still. um, he had a lot of shoes, like a lot of high-end shoes. Um, and then I get a lot of UGA stuff just at the thrift store. Football player stuff. I got a kid that transferred from UCLA to into UGA, a long snapper, just listed his shoes that had the UCLA and his number and his name on the back. Um, I get a lot of player issued stuff, Nike team stuff. There's one thrift store in town that gets, I think, donated stuff from UGA, but they're retailing it. They're trying to, at least, and I don't go over there because there's no money. So, but they got good stuff, but it's not worth it.
Would your in that particular locker with the Georgia stuff, what did your business partner see when the he was bidding? I'm assuming it was an online auction. What did he
Yeah.
see that popped out to him that made him think this unit's good and could possibly be have player issued Georgia stuff in it?
I don't think I mean, I think we bought it for like $700. So it wasn't, it wasn't one where we spent three or four or 5,000, which we've done. So I don't remember. It's probably been 8 or 9 or 10 months. I've slept a few times since then, but I don't remember him saying like, "Hey, this is going to be UGA player." But the quality of, I think a shoebox peeking out. Um, and if I remember, like the tax records, I mean, if you're getting into higher end units, you need to know who that person was, versus just buying it blindly. You can find out who it was, and then go from there. We've, since we're probably out of the game of storage units, I'll give up some secrets.
Yeah.
You get the,
Sitting over here
huh?
like I was going to ask you to give up some secrets.
All right, here we go. So here's a cool story. We were looking at a collection of units in South Carolina, or North Carolina, somewhere. I think it was near Charleston, South Carolina. 3 units. I think I called a buddy of mine who's done well in life, and I was like, "Hey, we may need some help on this one up front." And he was like, "All right, I'm in." I think we got up to like 36 grand on these 3 units.
Wow.
Yeah, but they got paid off. But to what got us there was, we found out who they were. We could see the artwork, we could see some of the furniture, and we got the person's name. Then you backdoor yourself into real estate listings, and then there's old real estate listing photos. Okay, now we got the house, and everything that was in the house we can tell is in this unit. And that surfboard is, some designer artist surfboard that's selling for like $7,500 on the secondhand market, and there's 3 of them. All this stuff's restoration hardware. That's this and that and the other, because we can see the full picture of the whole house, and everything's crated up with some writing on it, and it helps put the pieces together. So we were comfortably, looking at over $100,000 worth of stuff to sell. If we could sell it, I don't know, but we wanted to buy it.
So take me to storage auction school here on the high end side. How do you identify the owner of the storage unit? Because I've been on like storage treasures, and most of them around here are household units and are a high end units like a $600 unit, you know? So when you do spot one of these high end ones, what's the process of finding out who the former owner was? Because I'm guessing you can't call the used store place and say, "Hey, who owns unit number 77 on the website?" and them giving up that info. So what's the secret on finding that info out?
Well, you mentioned calling. We call them all. No matter if it's the mom and pops, you'll get more info out of. I mean, they're not going to tell you what's in it or anything of that nature. But did the person die? Are they overseas? Are they in jail? So are they going to pay it off or not? Because that's a pain. So a lot of time goes into, if you're investing 7, 8, 9 grand in a unit, you got to do some homework.
Definitely.
It's not just taking a peek at it and be like, "Yeah, let's roll the dice." I mean, we're writing stuff down and doing computations and things of that nature. Um, but call the place, and they might say more than that they're supposed to, or they might just give you a little bit of a hunch. And then, the bigger ones are better at, like, the national chain units are better. They're supposed to put out like a legal ad, for, because they've taken possession of someone's property that needs to be, advertised. It used to be in the paper, but it's no longer there. I think I can't remember where they're at. Like I said, he finds, I help kind of decipher what's in it and that kind of thing. And so he'd be worth getting on the podcast for sure. And he
Yeah.
probably would do it. He's not a social media personality, but um, he's he's the Godfather, I call him. He's just back there making moves. Um, but yeah, there's a legal ad, so you can kind of, you if it's a common name, it gets real hard. You kind of like, I don't know, is it just John Smith or that one? But uh, you can, generally, the more wealthy they are, the easier it is to pinpoint who it is in the city as well.
actually have future plans for the podcast to interview some of those like people who are just not internet known, but they're just like legends in the game, and some of those $1 million eBay guys or guys like your buddy who knows how to get into those crazy storage units. But since the podcast is in its infancy, it
Yeah,
obviously helps to get it out there when the people have an internet profile themselves, like the guest wise, because I'm not big enough to pull a podcast out and make it blow up on my own. I need to help with some guests who have some notoriety themselves, but eventually I do want to get into talking to guys like that and so or some of those antique roadshow style guys who are
mhm.
an encyclopedia. But right now I got to stick with people with a social media profile just to
Excellent.
get the thing to where I want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going to be there pretty quick.
Mhm.
But you're right. There's some monsters out there in this business that no
Mhm.
one's ever heard of. They're just doing their thing. And they're selling at flea markets. They're selling online. Whatever they're doing, they've been crushing it before the internet was invented, um, and they always will.
Yeah, well, I even see eBay wise, I'll have people send me their screenshots of their 90-day total, and they'll have three or $400,000 90-day totals on eBay, and they have no social media or show what they're selling or buying or anything like that. But they're obviously a wealth of knowledge to have those kind of numbers that I doubt I ever see in my life, but they constantly put up those numbers and they're a wealth of knowledge. So they'd be great guests on the podcast, but I can't put John Smith's the guest on this week's podcast and get enough people to view it. So
Yeah.
at the
Some of those
moment,
people don't want to talk about it at all.
yeah,
They're just, I mean, some people call it gatekeeping. It doesn't bother me if somebody kind of wants to hold it close to the vest. Um, but they just don't want to talk about it. They're afraid the cat's going to get out of the bag and mess up their apple cart. So
well, social media people are also the best people to interview because to be somewhat successful on social media, you do have to be outgoing and sociable, like
mhm.
you are. Like you'll sit here and have a conversation with anybody and be the life of a party. But there's a lot of people who aren't like that.
Yep.
So you get them on a podcast, and I ask them a question, and they say yes, and then 30 seconds rolls off the clock, and I realize they're not going to elaborate at all. And so I got to just start taking over and chapping my jaws, and
Is
nobody
this
wants
thing
to hear
on?
that. So, yeah. So from non-reseller people in my life, the number one question I always get is, "What's the best thing you've ever sold?" And so I'm sure you get that a lot too from your non-reseller people. That when people find out what you do for a living, I bet you get, "What's the best thing you ever sold?" So let's hear it.
Yeah.
What's the best thing you've ever sold?
Well, I've sold a lot of cool toys over in my days. I'm partial to like a blue snaggletooth from Star Wars that I got for nothing in a pawn shop, and it sold for like 450 or something like that. Digging out Imperial Dignitary from the last 17 of Star Wars out of a plastic or a cardboard bag excuse me, a paper bag I bought for $5 that I sold for 90. The margins or the numbers not crazy, but the story and kind of finding it was probably some of my favorite stuff. I had a haul of in the box Karate Kid stuff I bought in Atlanta for like $40. I had probably over $1,000 worth of stuff sold. I wish I had all that back, to be honest with you, just to keep it because I'm a in the box kind of collector when it comes to little toys. Um, I I got I had a Nissan Frontier and I took it to a yard sale. I filled the truck, the front seat, the back seat, the bed full of 82, 83 GI Joe stuff for $175, I believe. I don't know how many thousands of dollars because the 82 and 83 are the first run of the 3 3/4 action
Yeah,
figures
yeah.
and
Yep. Oh, I know all about those. I love those.
straight arms, swivel arms. So that was an amazing pickup, an amazing sale. I mean, it just didn't all sell at once. Um, and out of a storage unit, we haven't sold them yet, but a couple of like signed and framed, or not framed, but signed paintings of like Formula One cars in Monaco, Ferrari cars. I think we've got them listed for like $5,000 a piece. Some Joe Satorini art. Like he was a famous guitarist, but he did guitar art. Got several of those numbered and signed. We haven't sold them yet, but they'll sell eventually. But it'll be stupid margins. I could keep going. I'll shut up. I
No,
love
no,
selling
I love
everything.
hearing it. Yeah, me too. I get that question a lot, and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
do you want my like best margin sale? Because my best margin sales are going to be boring. Like a
Yes.
few months ago, made a post. I went to an auction where an HVAC company went out of business, and I pretty much bought all their parts for $1,200, and it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars worth of parts once they all sell. But that's boring. Or I can tell the story how I went to a yard sale and a lady had a box full of sealed Nintendo games for $2 a piece that had never been opened and were minty. And unfortunately,
Jeez.
that one happened before I was on eBay. And it was before I knew that eBay was the place to get top dollar. So I bought them for $20, all 10 of them sealed, and I sold them to some Nintendo guy for $1,000, But if I had taken the time now to send, now if I
Yeah.
got them, they'd go get graded and all that good stuff and then put on the market for several $100s a piece. But nothing, nothing you can do about that now. I'm sure you've made those kind of mistakes in the early days as well.
I sold a Super Mario Brothers 5 screw in the box. It was opened. Box was incredible. Bought it at a flea market for I don't know $35. This was probably 2005, a long time ago. The guy that bought it from me off eBay was the CEO of a gaming grading company out in Colorado. I saw the name. I was like, well, that looks like a business. So I looked it up. I'm like, I sold it for like $500 on the auction, but I think there was still more to be had there.
Yeah, I made a lot of underpricing mistakes in my early days and on some finds that I'll never find again. It was before I was even into cards. Well, I was into cards when I was like real young, but just because I wanted to have a bunch of cards, but I didn't know anything about cards. But in my early 20s, I bought a box of starting lineup figures at a yard sale for $20. And in the bottom, there was like 3 or 4 graded LeBron James rookie cards. And it was cards weren't like they are now because cards have blown up in the last since COVID.
Yeah.
But I'm sure I way underpriced those on whoever I sold them to in my flea market booth at the time. Like, because now, like, I don't even really remember what grades they were and who the grading company was because that's a big deal now. But back then, I knew so little about that kind of stuff that I didn't even know there were different grading companies. So I always wonder how bad I messed that one up. Like, but
Yeah.
we've all done it. Uh,
Yeah.
so you
There's
mentioned that you love vintage toys. Do you keep or collect any for yourself?
I do. Yeah, I've got. I mean, they're kind of. I'm not that attached to them, so if I sold them, I wouldn't lose sleep over it. Depending on how I bought them, some I've paid, retail for. I've got a sealed 12 back Vader. I've got a sealed Jedi Knight Luke. Um, Slave One Boba Fett in the box. On and on and on. I got some Ninja Turtle stuff, some He Man, some Joes. Um, that I enjoy having as a backdrop in my areas.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not married to them, so if somebody comes and hits me over the head with an offer, I'd sell any of it and go buy some more.
That's my thing. Like I dabble in collecting and but some of it like I'll sell, but I'll probably go buy a nicer one or something like that. So
Yeah,
I don't have a I don't have any of it listed or anything. But
same.
my favorite stuff's the stuff I can keep and collect that I found because I can say, "Hey, I found that." But
Yep.
I have stuff I bought as well.
One thing I've got a Cobra Commander that I'm pretty proud of that I probably will never sell. It's not really that expensive either, for 30, 40, $50, but I was parting out a Millennium Falcon 10 or 15 years ago. So I'm taking the screws out, and it's rattling. I'm like, what's going on around here? Something, this thing, some kid had stuffed this GI Joe inside the landing gear of the Millennium Falcon. This is, it's a 78 Millennium Falcon. And the GI Joe's stuck in there, and I pulled him out, and he's just sitting on my shelf now. So I saved him, and I'm gonna keep him.
So, as a reseller, when you tell other people what you do for a living, what are some of those most common questions that you get?
After they pick their mouth off the floor, like, what? Um, just, I bet that's fun. Yeah, it really is. Where do you find your stuff? Where do you sell your stuff? Can you sell my stuff? um, so and so I know, has a bunch of stuff. So it generally leads into how it
Yeah,
can, um, you know, it generally leads into a business opportunity sometimes. But most everybody I know already knew that I was kind of a hustler in that regard for a long time. But um, most people are kind of you can almost see like a little jealousy, like, what you doing, what, like the freedom, the whole thing, just kind of it's puzzling to them.
I get that a little bit. And then the other day, there's a couple very select people that I will do 50-50 splits with on eBay. I don't open the gates to anybody because I made the mistake of doing that once and it was just too much junk coming in. But there's a couple guys who have had a heart to heart being like, hey, this is the minimum that I'm willing to take. It has to fit in a box this size that I will do it for because they like going and hunting, do stuff, but they have full time jobs and they don't have time to list it and ship it and stuff. So, and they usually bring really good stuff. He was there in my shop a couple weeks ago and he sat down and he's like, can I ask you a personal question? Because I know we sit and talk and shoot the shit here, but I don't know you, but are you doing okay? Like, do you make enough money? Like, because like my work's always hiring and you're a good guy and you seem like you're always hustling. And I'm like, I'm doing great. Don't worry about me. Like, so I do get that sometimes of people like offering me jobs who don't know any better, but like,
I would love to
but
see the look on your face. What you really, I'm tickled.
yeah,
uh,
I'm like,
no,
well, I
I'm good.
appreciate the job offer, but I'd have to be hurting pretty bad for me to go back to a regular job. Like, so
Yeah. Well, from the screen, your whole operation's impressive. You've made my operation better. I mean, I attribute where I'm at as far as my being ahead in listings, and that's all you motivated all of that. I have a high drive, and it kind of puts some of it in gear. And you do a great service to all of us. So thank you.
I try. I never want to be accused of gatekeeping. Like when I started social media, like one of my biggest pet peeves is like people complaining about their financial situation, but then you don't see them do anything to improve it. Like they just want to complain about it. And I'll, I, I used to have a full time job where I did this part time. So when I was doing this part time and had a full time job, people at work would always come up to me like, how do you afford to do this? Or how do you afford to have that? And I'd explain it to them. And the guys in the shop would always be complaining about their financial situation. And I'm like, why don't you sell on eBay? You know a guy who sells on eBay. I'd answer any question. So my whole goal was to like show a path to either doing it part time to make your life better, or if you hate your job like I did, prove that some college dropout who really was kind of a screw up till the last 7 or 8 years can buckle down and change things for themselves. And that's my whole goal. And you put yourself on the internet, you're going to get some hate, but
For sure.
like
For
that's just
sure.
my
I mean,
goal to motivate and show people that it can be done without any special connections or don't matter where you live. Like there's something out there. I know somebody who like I said, we talked about Cougar's Corner. They're selling clothes from thrift stores and doing a half million plus a year and
Mhm.
are still growing every day. And wouldn't be surprised if next year they're not talking about doing six or $700,000 in thrift store clothes. Like
Yep.
there's something out there. I know somebody in every category that's doing something successful, and that's just kind of like my whole goal is to show that like it can be better.
Yeah, you gotta go get it. I mean, it's there. That's the thing, the gatekeeping thing. We're not stopping anybody from being successful by not telling. And the people that aren't telling aren't stopping other people. It's the people are stopping themselves. Not
Mm-hmm.
the yeah. I list one a day. Well, okay, but that's not. You're not going to sell much listing one a day,
No.
or three a day, or five. I was trying to. That's where I found myself was I was so busy in life, and we can make ourselves busy with everything. Um, and I was like, well, I got to get something up today. I got to get something up today. I got three up, and then it was a coffee mug, a hat, and a pair of shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
$47 worth of stuff, and I'm like. And, I saw it. I saw all it took was that little piece of paper you had with all the numbers on it. I'm like, duh,
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
that's not something I've done from day one. I used to make the same mistakes. Like my goal used to be every day to list, like if I sold 17 the day before, list 17 and then grow by five listings. And I used to do that, but there'd be days I'd cut myself. I'd be in a pinch for time and I'd go list, say if my listing goal was 22 items that day, I'd list 22 CDs for like $4 plus shipping. Like, and I finally
yeah,
like, my store didn't grow by five listings that day. My store's $600 smaller than it was yesterday because I
yeah,
cheated yesterday and listed a bunch of easy CDs that I can scan the barcode and list a CD a minute. And
yeah.
so I kind of developed the listing a dollar amount because it forces you to look and try to list quality. Because if I wanted to cheat and list CDs, it wouldn't be cheating because I'd have to list 300 CDs in the day to reach my listing goal. So it kind of forced me to be a better picker and it forced me to be a better buyer because the better stuff I list, the less work I have to do now. Because if
Mhm.
I can list 10 $100 items, I'm only going to list 10. But if I do something dumb like list a bunch of CDs or VHS tapes, I'm going to have to list three or 400 that day. So it just made me a better buyer. And I still got a bunch of old crappy listings I got to get rid of. Like, I'm guilty. I have probably 1,000 listings that I should go delist and just stick in my flea market booth for and take my dollar price gun and just go to town on them and get rid of them. So I've made mistakes and I've just developed it over years and years of doing this. And so far, so good.
Yeah, no, that the daily goal is done all those things for me. I'm bundling listings now, to get through. I think that's a $50 listing now instead of six, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
$8 listings. Um, it speeds me up. The dollar value hadn't changed. I list less crap now.
Mm-hmm.
And crap sells. Don't get me wrong, crap sells. You can almost sell anything on eBay, but it's made me a better buyer as well. And, you're dead on the money on all of that. So I tip my cap to you as much as I can.
It's also forced me. I used to like go to an auction and find like a big bin of 80s action figures, which is cool and fun. But in reality, most of them are worth like $6 or $7 a piece plus shipping.
Yep.
Maybe 10, $20 is a really good action figure. And it's
Mhm.
forced me to like make lots. If I have like some Ninja Turtles, instead of listing 10 individual Ninja Turtles for $5 to $10 a piece to make me a lot of Ninja Turtles and list it for $50 or $60. And because used to, I would purposely list them individually so I would get my listings in, and I was cheating the whole time. Like
Yeah.
I was taking a shortcut, and the shortcuts weren't paying off. So
Yeah. I mean, I still, I'll list an accessory that I don't have the figure for, or what, that kind
mhm.
of stuff, but, or bundled accessories together, but if I don't have a good
Yeah,
one, but yeah, I mean, like action figures, I got a ton of He-Man stuff. It's all dirty, and I'm like, I don't want to clean that anymore.
yeah.
I've got better stuff to list. So I quit buying stuff that I'm going to have to project, for the most part. It's helped me do that for sure.
I haven't followed the He-Man market closely, but I think I got a few of them about a year ago, and they were worth way less than what they were worth. Like I remember, like 10 years ago, they were kind of really hot,
They
and
were.
the last time I got a bundle of them, I'm like, this guy's only like $3. He used to be way more than $3. Is He-Man still down in the toilet a little bit?
I've sold a few. Shira is more expensive.
Hmm.
And then your King Randor, I think I sold one for like $125 recently, complete. And your certain variants. I've sold, but nothing crazy anymore. No, I mean, I sold a King Randor for 250 or 300 once. I parted one out, sold the cape for like 100 bucks, the staff for 60, 80. I don't remember. It's
So the
almost
super high end,
sacrilegious.
the rare
Yeah.
stuff's still holding on, but the common stuff that you used to be able to get $14, $15 for a figure is kind of down in the toilet, I guess, at the moment. I parted out of She-Ra
Yeah,
Castle probably about a year ago. So
I've got one. I've got to like super glue the little clasp back together. It came out of a unit. I mean, I've been looking at it for a year. So maybe I'll get to it.
well, we're coming up on the hour mark. I really
Yep.
appreciate you doing this. If you want to tell everyone where they can follow you,
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Bevo's Flips, YouTube, Bevo's Flips, TikTok, Bevo's Flips.
he's
Um,
a he's a fun follow and he's always having a good time. Give him a follow,
yep.
guys. And thanks again
Yep.
for doing this.
Thank you, Sean. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
All right, see you, buddy.
Sean's Fine Show. Sean's Fine Show. Digging deep and making dough. From thrift store gold to eBay flips. He teach fire Thames and killer tips. Buy or sell us, wheel and deal. Real stories. Keep it real. Snack a bargain. Flip it fast. Sean's Fine Show.